For a while now, whenever you've brought a Ubisoft game, you've always known what you're going to get. A big open world full of things to do and stuff to collect, as well as loads of towers to climb. And while most of these things still ring true to their games today, recent game Assassin's Creed Origins did change the Ubisoft formula up quite a bit by ditching many mainstay features, and it was a much better game for it. So with Ubisoft's latest game, Far Cry 5, many people have been hoping for some big changes to the gameplay, and while there hasn't been a lot of big changes, there has been some, and it does make for a more refined experience. Coming out 2 years since the fun spin-off Primal and 4 years since the last main entry 4, the Far Cry series has always been famous for two things: its leading villains and exotic locations. And Far Cry 5 continues this trend by introducing us to the creepy cult leader Joseph Seed, and the game changes location from the Himalayas to the rather interesting choice of location to Montana, America. Exotic it ain't, but the fictional Hope County is still a beautiful place indeed. That's still as dangerous as any other entry in the series. Anyway, the story of Far Cry 5 goes like this. A religious cult has taken over fictional Hope County in Montana, and you, the mute deputy, must take down their leader Joseph Seed and his lieutenants. The opening brilliantly sets the scene, with you taking Joseph away in a helicopter, only for it to crash and you being chased by the cult in a Mad Max style escape. It's a thrilling opening that works incredibly well. You eventually survive the onslaught, and you slowly work your way through Hope County, taking down each of Joseph's lieutenants' grip on each region. The story, as I said, starts off brilliantly, but once you finally gain access to the open world of Hope County, the story does go on a bit of a back burner and only really pops up for the main missions involving Joseph's lieutenants. The eventual reasoning why the cult is doing this is pretty interesting, with the game taking the occasional pop at the political world, but for no matter how hard the story tries to make you take it seriously, it does get far too silly to take seriously, but it is an enjoyable tale overall. And while the story does take a back seat for most of the game, it's the characters of Hope County that really do make the game and adds a lot of heart to it. Whilst your character is a silent, generic rookie cop that lacks any sort of character, especially compared to previous entries' leads, it's the people that inhabit Hope County that really do shine. From the various side quests that join you on your journey to take down the cult, to even NPCs that give out quests. There's plenty of well-written characters that add a lot of charm to this game. Gameplay now, and if you played Far Cry 3 or 4, then you've got a pretty good idea on how the game plays. You essentially go around the big open world liberating camps and shooting anything in sight, whilst also completing missions. It's the same old solid gameplay that made Far Cry 3 a huge success, and yes, it's still incredibly fun here. The game's huge map is split into 3 different regions. Each one is watched over by one of Joseph Seed's lieutenants, and to get to Joseph you have to off each and every one of his lieutenants to get to him. To get to a lieutenant you have to fill up the resistance level in that area by completing missions and liberating outposts. Once you've filled the resistance level, you then go face to face with the lieutenant of said area. Ubisoft has tried to spruce up the gameplay a bit here by getting rid of the following the storyline in a linear fashion. Instead, now the game takes a few hints from Breath of the Wild and gives you a small little area as a tutorial to teach you the basics, and then opens the maps up and let you explore the map and take down any of the 3 lieutenants in whatever order you want. It may sound like a simple change to the flow of the game, but it does allow for a great amount of freedom and lets you play how you want. Other changes to the game sees radio towers getting the chop, with the game making a little joke about it in the opening hours. But for me, the best change is the removal of the minimap. It makes the screen look far less cluttered and really does show how beautiful the game looks. But don't worry, the map is in the option menu, and thankfully there isn't hordes of icons littering it, like previous Ubisoft games. Instead, you have to discover points of interest, fast travel and missions before they appear on the map, and it does make for a better experience as you don't feel like you're crossing off a list of things to do. As for the actual things you can do in the game, there's much more here than your main story missions. Side missions are one of the best things in the game, as these missions see you do some very funny activities like murdering a bull for its testicles for the county's local testicle festival, to investigating alien activity in Hope County, to even hunting a drug-addicted moose. The side missions are an absolute highlight and some of the best Ubisoft have ever put in their games. As well as that, you have the outposts, which can be reset after you've completed the game, to the clutch nicks and stunt missions that see you taken to a vehicle and completing a time trial whilst performing some death-defying stunts. There are collectibles, but thankfully there's not a load of them and you don't need all of them to get the platinum trophy, which is great. And another great activity in the game is the prepper stashes, which sees you solving puzzles that rewards you with money, weapons and perk points. Oh, and there's also fishing, which is way more fun than it should be. Many an hour has been spent trying to catch all the fish on offer. It's great fun. As you go through the game, you gain loads of new skills with the thanks of perk points, and you get these not by leveling up like you did in previous games, because that's been scrapped now for a new way. And this new way is you get perk points by completing mini in-game achievements, for example like killing an enemy with a certain gun, or hunting a certain animal. It's certainly a better way of gaining new skills that encourages you to try everything you have at your disposal. Far Cry 5 is a big old game, and it can feel lonely at times exploring the big old world on your own. And the game knows that, as now you can bring AI companions with you on your journey. These characters range from the series' favourite Herc, to new characters like Grace Armstrong the Sniper, to even Cheeseburger the Grizzly Bear. But for me though, Nick Roy the pilot is the best companion, not just because how useful he is in the campaign, but how well written his character is. There's a great range of AI companions, and there's even an upgrade that allows you to have 2 AI companions with you at all times, which is a nice touch. The game, like its prequels, also features full online co-op with you and another player, and it's as like it was in Far Cry 4, an absolute blast, and it's probably the best way to play the game. But this comes with a problem, as like in Far Cry 4, only the host's progress is saved, whilst the player who joins will have to redo these missions again in their own game. It's a pain for players who join the game, and this really should have been fixed in this game. As well as your lengthy campaign that also can be played in co-op, Far Cry 5 offers another mode that houses its multiplayer and stage creator mode called Far Cry Arcade. And whilst the previous entries have had both multiplayer and stage creator modes in them, Far Cry Arcade feels like the biggest go yet. A trailer about the mode surfaced a month before release, and it seriously got me excited with huge amount of possibilities there could be. And whilst there is a lot of possibilities, they haven't been met yet, as most of the stages about feel like people just testing the water. Ubisoft have uploaded some and they do show what can be done with it, but there just isn't much out there at the moment. Guess the folks are too busy with the main game. It is a shame, as it really feels like Ubisoft is trying here to add some legs to the game, but nevertheless the mode is going to be constantly updated with new items and cosmetics from other Ubisoft franchises, so hopefully in a few months' time arcade mode will end up being like the brilliant snap map mode in Doom, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, onto the technical side of things now, and Ubisoft games are pretty well known for the amount of bugs and glitches there are at launch. And while there is some, thankfully they've only been silly little glitches that haven't hindered gameplay. Graphics now, and while the location isn't as exotic as Far Cry 4, it is a huge step up in terms of graphics. With some absolutely beautiful light in water and foliage effects, character models are also pretty detailed for a Ubisoft game, and Montana itself looks absolutely amazing at times. Many a times I've actually just stopped and looked in awe how beautiful it all looks. Frame rate is also rock solid at 30 FPS, with only a slight drop in frame rate when the action gets busy, which is kind of understandable. Sound-wise, the game features a decent cast of voice actors, even if your own character doesn't actually speak. On the music side, the original soundtrack is a mix of rustic, rural country music and a licensed soundtrack. The licensed soundtrack in most Ubisoft games have been okay, with the odd decent track here and there, but Far Cry 5 marks the time Ubisoft has nailed its licensed soundtrack. The licensed soundtrack here is astounding and honestly rivals Grand Theft Auto in the selection of great music on offer. There's a great mix of classic rock, pop and country music spanning several decades here, ranging from Vera Lynn's We'll Meet Again to The Platter's Only You, which features heavily in the game, to even T-Rex, Creedence Clearwater and the Black Keys having a couple of tracks each. My only complaint about the soundtrack is that you can only hear the music from in your car, and considering you hardly have a peaceful moment to listen to these tracks, it would be nice if there was an option to listen to the soundtrack whilst on foot. Conclusion time now, and whilst Far Cry 5 may feel incredibly similar to previous entries, it's certainly the most refined and enjoyable one to date. Yes, its story may go on the back burner a bit, but the colourful characters of Hope County more than make up for the story's shortcomings. Far Cry 5 open world is beautiful, huge and filled with many fun things to do, and its non-linear structure is a real winner. Yes, it may be samey, and the inevitable Far Cry 6 will have to change the formula a lot more than 5 has done, but as it is, Far Cry 5 is a lot of pure dumb fun, and with that I'll give Far Cry 5 an 8.5 out of 10 with a title of great. Thank you for watching my review, like, rate and subscribe, and until next time, happy gaming, bye!